Hello everybody, welcome. My name's Michelle Anderson and I'm the founder of Clarinet Mentors. Today I have a video that's designed for all levels of players, but it is what I consider a more advanced technique. And it's designed to help you sort of test if your air and embouchure are on the right track, and by working through this exercise you will improve your tone and sound quality. If you've watched any of my other videos here on YouTube, you'll know that I'm a big believer in just having some really simple systems that you can use at home to improve your playing. And it's amazing how each of these little tools really contributes in their own way to making you a better player, and more importantly to have it feel easy so that you feel less frustrated with some of the challenges that we all experience. Today's lesson is looking at playing with what we call the Overtones series on the clarinet. And in fact, you're all pretty good at doing overtones, because really that's a fancy word for a squeak. If you've ever been playing and all of a sudden you accidentally get a squeak, you're actually hitting a much higher note that's kind of related to the note that you were aiming for. What we're going to do is consciously harness the power of the squeak today and show you how you can use it to improve your own air quality. If you've watched some of my how to make high notes feel easier videos, there's an exercise I present in there to help improve your altissimo, which is the extreme high range that uses overtones. And I'm going to repeat it here because it's a really good warm-up to the exercises that we're going to do today. So what that exercise is fingering your lowest C on the clarinet, the do, the one we have with our thumb and first three fingers. And if I just played that note normally, it would sound like this. Now, if I were to try and aim for some of the higher notes that are related to the C, they're called the overtone. And the way we do this for this first part of the exercise is we're going to consciously take our jaw and push down into the reed a little bit. And I need to make an important distinction here. I'm not talking about squeezing the soft part of the reed, which closes it off and in fact chokes our sound off. I'm talking about pushing down into the heart of the reed a little bit. And one way to get the feeling for that is to deliberately put too much mouthpiece in your mouth. If we have too much mouthpiece in our mouth, we squeak. For example, if I fingered low C and just put a whole bunch of mouthpiece in my mouth and blew, I get a squeak. I'm going to try and get that note more or less with my normal amount of mouthpiece in my mouth. However, my bottom jaw may be slightly creeping down the reed as I do this exercise. So here's what we're aiming for with this one. What that gives us is a series of notes, and I wasn't pressing the register key at all. So at first, when you first try and do this, it's going to feel really tricky. You need to experiment a little bit with how you can get those various notes to come out. But when you do so, it starts to give you a good feel for the kind of embouchure and air you want to use for the altissimo register. Now I want to show you a separate overtone exercise that's really handy for players of all levels, even if you're not trying to hit the extreme altissimo. This one really sort of checks whether your air is fast enough and well supported enough for the optimum tone on the clarinet. So what we're going to do is start on the low C, and then try and play the equivalent of the high G that we would play if we were to push the register key. Now, what you might want to do is actually start by pressing the register key, and then while you're sustaining that note, slip your thumb off of the key and see if you can stay on that note. So if I were to do that, it might look like this. So you can see I was playing the high G, and I took my thumb off of the register key, but I tried to shape my mouth and air so that I stayed up there. Now you hear a change in the tone for sure. When I took the register key off, the pitch got a bit flat, and my tone lost some focus. So I gotta say right away, in this exercise, you're not necessarily going to sound great. That's okay. There are a lot of exercises that teach our air and our muscles and our body how to play clarinet well, where we don't sound good. So my apologies to the people in your life who have to listen to you when you do this exercise, because it might not sound great. But when you then go back to normal fingerings, you're going to sound really good. So Once we get up there onto that high G without the register key, then I just want you to explore the notes around it by fingering up and down. So in effect, we're playing in the high register without using the register key. You're going to find the higher notes are a little bit easier than the lower notes. So here's what it might look like. I'll start on low C, I'll add the register key for high G, I'll slip it off, and then I'm just going to experiment with moving my fingers around a bit. Now you see right at the bottom there, it suddenly popped down into the low register. And that's what can happen really commonly. So for me, that one slipped down when I got to the equivalent of my D. And your goal is to get it to where you can easily play a whole C scale in that upper register. Most people find with a little bit of work, the high G to A to B to C works pretty easily. But sometimes getting the right hand notes to work is a little challenging. If you're popping into the low register, which of course the instrument wants to do because you're not really fingering the high register, it's a sign that your air might not be moving fast enough. So here's a little exercise to help you improve this exercise. What we're going to do is start with the equivalent of that G without the register key, although you can always use the register key just to get you started. After you do this for a while, you're going to find you won't even need to do that. You can just set your air and embouchure and do it right away. We're going to do an exercise that's related to your air support. And I have another great video on activating your blowing muscles, which I do recommend you watch. And I'll put a link to it in the description below. But what we want to aim for is we're going to finger the various high notes that we want to play. And just with our air, we're going to make short, fast bursts of air. It's as if our breath is going just really, really fast, strong bursts of air while we're fingering these notes. So what you should get is for a split second, you might find you get the note you want, and then you might lose air support. While we're doing those bursts of air, if I were to put my hand on my belly button, I'm going to think of pushing my ab muscles out. So I can do that without, just by pushing, boink, boink. Those are just my muscles pushing out. If I combine that with blowing my bursts of air, these muscles give me a lot of strength and air support. So here's what it might look like. I might start on that equivalent of the high G. Let's say I'm going to feel brave enough to try it without the register key there. I'm going to do bursts of air, thinking of my ab muscles pushing out. Now my tone quality, not so good. But I'm really doing this to warm up these breathing, blowing muscles, which are right around our belly button, having them push outward. And then I'm going to huff my way down the scale until I reach the point where it doesn't sound so good. So let's pretend like it's on that D where it wants to crack for me. I'll demonstrate that. So I'll do a few Gs, a few Fs, a few Es, and then I might find the D doesn't work so well. Oh, I lost it right there. So I'm having trouble, for me the break point right there was getting to that D. So now what I can do as I'm doing my huffing and working my way down, I'm going to try not to let my air pressure go completely down to zero. So although I'm going to still give focused bursts of air, thinking of pushing my ab muscles out as I do that, I'm going to keep a little bit of air pressure there. So the effect is sort of going I'm still maintaining a fair bit of air pressure, and sometimes that will allow us to go just a little bit further down. So let's say I'll start on that G. I might think of an extra burst of air on that D. So I might go and really, really blow loudly on that one. And that time it sounded better. And we go through it like that until it feels very easy for us. And we can go through the whole scale. Now, to get down to that C, I was using really fast air, really, really blowing quickly. And it takes a little bit of time to get used to this. Once I do that, if I try playing the same scale with the register key on, it's as though the notes are magically coming out of my instrument without any effort at all. I've warmed up my blowing muscles so well, And in order to make those high notes work without the register key, we really have to have our tongue and embouchure and air all combined in a good position. And it sort of trains our body to do that. So it's a tough exercise, but once you get used to doing it, it really helps your playing. And I really want to encourage you to work with this. So even if you have to use your register key to get you started on every note initially, the goal is to get to the point where more and more you can do it without the register key, and you can expand the whole range of your notes. It's a wonderful exercise for improving tone. I actually want to hear from you how this works from you. And my challenge for you is try it for 2 weeks. Do it every time you practice for 2 weeks. And in that time, you'll definitely notice an improvement in how far you go. You might find then the next piece of music you play right after doing this exercise that you love the tone quality you're getting. And if so, you see the immediate results of this exercise. You might find after 2 weeks you've seen so much improvement that you want to keep going to do more with it. And there's lots more we could do with this. And in fact, with my own students, we have several overtone exercises that we work on. You can put your comments and your experience into the comment box right below this video. I love to hear from you. Love for clarinetists to share their knowledge, and you might have your own exercise that you want to contribute to the community. And if you're not officially a member of the Clarinet Mentors community, I want to invite you to join. It's absolutely free. You go to www.learnclarinetnow.com and enter your name and email address. If you become an official member of the community, you'll get a newsletter from me every 2 or 3 weeks with an instructional video like the one you're watching right now. And also I'll give you all my favorite clarinet gadget pointers, equipment to use, great recordings, great events, and I'll invite you to special clarinet events that I have. And these might include online lessons with some of the world's greatest clarinet players, all sorts of things I want you to be a part of. My whole goal is to help you play clarinet more easily. So thank you for watching today's video. There's lots more here on YouTube. I hope you enjoy them all, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.